Yeah, man. Incredible, guys. Seriously. This would not have been possible without Francis and Faye. So, and Jackie and the entire team. And yeah, So, it really does take a lot of people to put things like this together. So, again, thank you so much for spending your Thursday with us. So I wanted to talk a little bit about wealth. And the best way to build wealth is through networking and talking to people. So I'm just going to go through some of these tables, and based on the conversations that you've had, maybe you have a little better idea of what you're looking for. Okay? So I'm going to go to this table right here. If someone wants to stand up at this table and just say, what is it that you're looking for, and what do you have to offer? So my understanding is you're looking for a director, you're looking for some admin people, and you're looking for, and what you have to offer in the company is a tremendous amount of knowledge in the Web3 space and opportunities to get equity in this company that will be rapidly growing over the next couple of years. Is there anyone at these tables, just raise of hand, that would be interested in anything like that? All right, we got this nice lady in the back. We got this lady over here. Okay, all right. Heather in the back. And yourself.
Is the admin one remote outside of Canada?
I think some of them might be. Actually, admin's not my area, so it's just I hear a lot from administration area. So like, we get more admin more.
If it's a remote, she's interested.
Great.
Makes sense.
Right on.
And Idan. Same thing. Okay. All right, cool. Any people that are aspiring for the director level in life? Director level. Okay. Okay, all right, cool. So let's go to this table right here, right? What is it that you're looking for, and what do you have to offer? Always two things to know in life. Anyone can take a stand and just speak to the room here for a second, right? So guys, for those of you that don't know, we got a pretty massive community. I think we have 3,000 or so folks in one Telegram room, right? That's one way to get it. One way to get knowledge is going to the expert and finding out, right? The other thing is, I'll tell you a metaphor that's been really, really useful for my interns. There's two lumberjacks. They cut wood every day, okay? One of them doesn't take any breaks, cuts a lot of wood. The other one takes an hour break every day, cuts more wood. The one that cuts all day asks the other lumberjack, he says, dude, what are you doing? I'm clearly working more than you. What's going on here? He says, an hour a day I go and sharpen my axe. I go and sharpen my axe, right? So what does that mean? You can look inside of your community for information. Really relevant, powerful stuff. But are you going to be the lumberjack with a dull axe? Or do you want to be the one that has a swift axe? What that means is podcasts, books. You have to constantly be educating yourself. If on the drive to work, you are not listening to something that is educating yourself. There's a wonderful audiobook that I'll actually recommend to every single person here, Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is an audiobook that's available on Spotify. Every single person in this room would benefit from words in that book. When you're driving to work, listen to it, sharpen your axe. That way you'll be so much more useful to all the other sisters that you have here. The other thing I wanted to say is, you're going to get together, you're going to have these conversations. You're going to have someone that wants to do this thing and someone that wants to do this thing. And you'll realize, if you're wise, that if you do one thing together in the beginning, it will build both things out, or the potentiality of that other thing will be increased. So you just got to figure out how to reduce the ego in terms of that, focus on something that will help you build that revenue pillar, and then expand outwards. Okay? My recommendation. We did that table. Let's go to this table with a nice man in the Hawaiian shirt and the nice ladies. I don't know if that's a Hawaiian shirt. Sorry. Yeah, so please take a stand. What are you looking for? What do you have to offer?
I'm just like to everybody right here, we've been through it. Just be careful, know your SEC regulations before you start soliciting people for funds. You go into an opportunity. You got to do it a certain way. Don't call yourself a leader. Don't call yourself nothing to nobody, because they'll come after you for it after. Okay? You say, go to this website, this is the opportunity, that's it, shut up, don't say anything else. Know your rights. Okay?
Yeah.
So,
Wise word. So I assume what this man has to offer is wisdom, right? When it comes to that, might be wise to try to get his number, buy him lunch or something, right? How many people in this room think that the amount of money on the planet is finite, meaning that there is a certain amount of it? Raise your hand if you think the amount of money on the planet is a certain amount and there's no more. How many of you believe that the amount of money on this planet is finite, meaning that that's that? Okay, so no one in this room thinks that the money on the planet is finite. Okay, let me change the question. How many people in this room believe that the money available to you is finite? Unlimited, right? It's this made up thing, right? Okay, fine. My suggestion for all of the people here that are looking to make real change in society is come together, form that business plan, and find the people that the money flows the most to. Do the work that they wish they could do, but they do not have the time to do. You understand? Do not try to assume that you're going to go and collect $10 bills off the street and make crews happen. It's not going to happen. If you get investors, angel investors, whatever, to come together and actually fund your group with a united front, you're going to have a much better chance. And what that also means is you're basically coming out of retirement. Sorry. Okay? For people that are younger that are still working, there is no retirement if you don't have a financial plan. You will work until you die. That's just how it works. But hopefully, the 80 hours of work that you're willing to do to make your dreams come true is something that you actually want to do. So that when you're competing against someone else that has that same dream, your motivation will keep you up till 12 o'clock at night making sure that email is sent out. Right? It's very possible with the very people in this room. But then you got to think, okay, who has my money? And how do I seduce them and convince them in giving it to me? Right? Perhaps. And realize that for some of you, I don't know if you know this, but like the wealthiest people in the world, many of them are very kind people. I think we paint this picture where these CEOs and stuff are absolute assholes. It's not the case. Most of the time, to get to that level, you need to be a kind person because people want to deal with you. So don't have this picture in your brain that, oh, I have to go and talk to this snobby person. No. You just have to present them with a very strong idea and a strong group of people. Okay? Sir in the back, since you're sitting at your own table, I figure I'd call you out. And I probably should call my brother out too, but we'll leave him alone. Anything that you want and anything you're willing to offer, sir. You see? You want a lot of material things. Okay, what are you willing to offer? Can someone translate?
Community back home.
Okay. So what you're willing to offer is helping your community back home in exchange for material things. Where is back home for you? Jamaica. Is there money to be made in Jamaica? Lots of money to be made in Jamaica. My mentor, who was a dentist in dental school, he went to Jamaica every year. He loved Jamaica. Right? That guy made, I'm pretty sure, for multiple years in a row, he made $5 million gross revenue at his dental practice. Those people are hanging out in Jamaica, guys. How are you going to get in their face? How are you going to give them something to think about? You have a business school back home. That's awesome. Guys, also, not even a shameful pill. Guess what I do? I help people put their ideas together. That's why I'm part of this company.
Times harder. Give me a number that's less than 5. Bitcoin's not at that level, but that would be kind of nuts. You'd have to keep doing this processing for yourself, trying to find what number do I input, and then the output is less than 5. I mean, who knows how long that would take and what power. So that's what Bitcoin mining is, and whoever is the first to supply this input number, that gives a number that gives the output like less than a certain number. Bitcoin says, "Oh, congratulations! Yeah, that I just verified that," or some other miner verifies it. Some other person running the software and downloading the information gets it. So that's mining. That's what it is. The first person to get the number right that goes into the function and results in less than some other value, they get the reward of Bitcoin, and they get to say what transactions are considered valid.
So what happens to everybody else that didn't get it?
They just go, "Oh man, a new block was found. All right." And then they ask Bitcoin, "Hey, did the difficulty change?" And Bitcoin's like, "No." It's about 14 days, 15 days, something like that, where the difficulty will change and keeps changing about that target. And so then the other miners, they just, cool, yeah, whatever. I'm still doing random numbers and throwing them into that function and seeing if it's less than your target and submitting it to you. Yeah, so the other ones, they just continue. They just continue going, and they say, "All right, cool. These transactions that I wanted to submit to the network, half of them were already submitted, so I just need to pick some other ones." Yeah, so I guess since like the 1980s, it's just like, nobody can find like a economical way that makes sense monetarily. So I guess it's not at crazy levels yet. That's cool. Thank you for speaking. You mentioned about Bitcoin like 18 years prior to Bitcoin's launch. Bitcoin being a concept that people were trying to make. Is that correct? Well, I like history, and Bitcoin came from something called hash cash. And, there's people that I respect very much, like Nick Spanos. I respect him a lot. He's in New York. He's like a OG Bitcoin person. And he was telling me, I don't remember if I think he had like something that talked about Bitcoin before 2009. Not a domain name, I just can't remember, but he was telling me about hash cash, and what it sounded to me was that it sounded like people were trying to make something like Bitcoin for quite a while. People have been wanting to get away from banks and such for quite a while. Secret message. All right, and oh yeah. Well, when I first got into Bitcoin, I just thought to myself, well, why not just use PayPal? I was working with a cyber warfare company. I was a remote working person, and even a couple of my friends worked at that company and had no idea I worked at the company. But I didn't do any of the cool stuff, like vulnerability researchers and hacking kind of things. I was just somebody that knew a lot of technologies, and I could marry their technologies together. It was very unusual that somebody knew all the technologies you need to know with like old computing, old video games, assembly language, basically. Somebody who knew all that and also knew the web stack, especially an even more rare web stack like Python, Django, and things like that, where everybody was using PHP and stuff. So I knew how to marry these technologies, and that's what they needed. But I had asked one of the security, so I got a chance to work with 2 of the vulnerability researchers, and I was like, whoa, cool. Like, I love listening to the crazy stuff these guys talk about. Like, someone asked me, well, how are you on beer? I would go to this bar just because I heard they were there, and they drank like way too much, like in the middle of the workday. And I'm like, how do you guys do this great work? They were smashed. And I'd just be like, but they always talked about very interesting things. And I had said to one of them, like, why not use PayPal? And, his answer was pretty cool. He had mentioned to me that, like, one of the weakest links of any country is its currency. I was like, I mean, probably because of all the dependency on trade and stuff, right? So I thought that was interesting. When I was in Bitcoin, when I got obsessed with it, which was like 4, 5, 6 months after reviewing Bitcoin's code. When I started mining, I realized, like, when I got paid, I got paid Bitcoin, I realized, well, hold on a second. Where did I get paid from? I just got paid by an entity that completely does not exist. I was like, holy shit, that is cool. Like, yeah, this thing doesn't exist. I just got something imaginary, right? Imaginary internet money, but I got it and somebody wants it. I thought that was cool. So the entrepreneur in me came out. And, but still, it's like I could see 10 years ahead that this is just something that if I thought it was cool, a lot of other people were going to think it was cool too. But you guys are visionaries, really. You see the future. You might not be super techie people, but you can see that something is really useful. What did Bitcoin do anyways? Bitcoin showed people a way where you can't make copies of something. You can't just copy your wallet and duplicate it and then suddenly you have 2 wallets. Bitcoin showed that we can transact electronically without a middleman, without a bank, without anything like that. Bitcoin showed that money could be different. And I think there's something about what you guys see in the future of Genius. And that is, well, what I see with Genius is that Genius can actually change the entire economy. And I'll talk about that tomorrow, a little bit later today. Genius is going to show us how we can completely change the entire economy as we know it. And money had a problem, Bitcoin is fixing that, or Bitcoin showed a path. And you know what? Money is a big problem, but it seems like the economy can be a problem. Does the economy suck because we suck, or does it suck because the regulations and the movement of it is less efficient than us and our computers today? Right? What do you think?
Do you think?
Well, before a question, if I may just say that Bitcoin can change money, and Genius AI is going to show the world how you can change the entire economy. And I think that's crazy, and I love it. I'm very passionate about it. What really helped me back then was I realized that governments were just made up of people. They were just crowds. And so I had a lot of faith that because it was so useful, it was eventually going to be useful for individuals, and governments are made up of individuals. So it was only a matter of time until governments who were made up of individuals were like, oh yeah, this is useful. And we see that very as clear as day. 15 years later, every investment firm that I've talked with, like the bigger ones and nations, and I've talked with super small nations, they're embracing it. And the first people who embraced it, they had a lot of benefit to make, just like the first businesses that said, hey, I'm going to post my business on the internet on a web page, right? These businesses had an advantage, and nations realize today, like, oh, sharp, like, we got an advantage. Microsoft is doubling down on Bitcoin, getting more into Bitcoin. I mean, maybe not, but I'm pretty sure they are from a shareholder meeting with Michael Saylor recently, because these companies cannot afford not to do this. So, your question, yeah, a lot of people fear change. I've realized, and I'm pretty adamant that people fear change because, or people don't want to change because, then new things come up, their fears get triggered. They're like, can I just not be feared for a second? It's stressful. But it's good. And we can help each other with that. And when skeptical people come to us and say like, oh, you're into crypto, you can tell them like, yes, because it's a great thing, man. Can I have $200? No. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to use the restroom real quick and we'll take a little break. So Genius AI, is it like Victor Hugo or somebody that was saying that like, hey, like, an idea whose time has come is like a big idea? Any of you know what I'm talking about? Because I don't know what I'm talking about. But Genius AI is a huge. I'm just going to show you some things that make Genius AI huge and what we do need to know about it. The first big idea with Genius AI is that there's no fractional reserve. We all recognize that no fractional reserve is a really good thing, right? Like, who here is familiar with the term fractional reserve, like banking fractional reserves? All right, cool. Let me tell you what a fractional reserve is, at least in the US. A fractional reserve is where, the bank doesn't have the money. The bank doesn't have your money or your assets. They only have a little bit of it. The rest of it, they've lost, they've gambled, people have taken away, people have not paid their debts back. So what a fractional reserve in the US is the Federal Reserve Company. They love to pretend that they're a government agency. The Federal Reserve Company, what they tell all of their other Federal Reserve buddies or all the other banks is, hey, for every dollar that you get deposited, right, in our system, we're going to credit you 9 times the amount of money as credit that you can lend out to people and stuff. And we want you to do that. The Federal Reserve wants there to be debt, etc. And that's how the economics of the dollar work. Besides war and things like that. But the truth is, 100 years ago, how the Federal Reserve did this and having laws passed with being able to influence and help the US's crisis, the Federal Reserve did a great job. They did a great job of making a monetary instrument, having it legally protected, and today the US dollar is older than any other national currency because they did something right. But the fractional reserve part, this is a big idea today. It's the idea that you have the money that you say you have. When this happens, before the US dollar used to be backed by gold, right? And then it became backed by other things, faith, whichever. This backing really, let's say a dollar was, I don't want to say an ounce of gold because that'd be crazy. $1 a gram of gold, I don't know. But the backing value, when the currency is fully backed by something else, then there's really no fractional reserve. Right? So when you have stocks, right? Does anybody here trade stocks? You hands up high? Just one? Okay, so a few. When you trade stocks, the price goes up and down. When you think about it, there's a fractional reserve with stocks. That value for each stock, the company doesn't have all that money. They're spending money to do things and create value. So there's a fractional reserve. So this is a big idea with Genius AI, is not to have a fractional reserve. And this big idea turns into something pretty big. The other big idea from Genius is to change the model of scarcity. So a better scarcity model. Whatever you want to say about the US dollar's form of scarcity, Bitcoin clearly came up and showed people a lot of possibilities, but one of them was Bitcoin has a different model of scarcity, right? And that model of scarcity is what? Anybody want to help me with my presentation? Yeah, limited supply. The supply emission is also known. At first it was 50 Bitcoin per 10 minutes approximately, and then it was known that emission of Bitcoin would change over time. It would be half as much. Approximately 4 years later, it would be 12.5 Bitcoin, then 6.25, and etc. So Bitcoin showed a better model of scarcity, of being that it's just not willy-nilly just gonna inflate whenever because a human being said so. Right? That was a better model of scarcity. Now Genius comes along and says that a better model of scarcity is to figure out the only two things, or the only thing, or the only things in the universe that are scarce, and then to mathematically model that. This is what first caught my ears in a Slack channel that wasn't called Genius or anything, but was people talking about better economics. I thought that was really interesting. Anybody want to take a guess at something that is truly scarce to everyone? Universally scarce to everyone? Somebody say time? Now, they always say time. Just kidding. Yeah, no, I disagree with you. In a smile way. I used to think time as well. Well, it turns out, after lots of debates and lots of chatting, that the only two things scarce in the universe to human beings, because you could say oh, water is scarce, and then God's probably up there being like, bro, you're on a planet of water. Come on. Okay, food is scarce. Well, long story short, who here believes food is scarce? No? Here, I want to show you an example of how to raise your hand. Okay, cool. Nobody was. So, it turns out, and I fully believe this, but I challenge it often still, but the only things in the universe that are universally scarce to everybody is their intention and their attention. So human attention, and we've really learned this with the internet world over the last time, that attention is scarce. You can have an hour block of doing work, and then Faye may be able to do 20 things within that block, and Jared may be able to do 25 things that are valuable.
I'll tell you right now, you want to start on YouTube, you got to start on YouTube and not stop. Right? The social media guys, the social media war is a real homie. Like, the amount of information, you guys are on your phone right now, that you're going on Instagram, whatever, Facebook, right? The amount of information that's available to us is ridiculous. Right? The only way as a brand and as a business to stay relevant is to keep putting out that information. But also, and something I'm discovering recently since I hired a branding guy for multiple companies that I'm working in. And actually, I'm working with AI crypto events to also brand their things. You gotta have a brand. You gotta establish a brand, or the community will establish it for you. Okay? And what that means is that you gotta get with an expert, and you gotta really figure out what it is that you're trying to do. And what type of imagery is going to be important for conveying that. What type of colors are going to be important for conveying that. And keep being consistent and executing all the time and just posting out a lot. So you might think to yourself, I'm like 7 years old, I'm like whatever. Like, the reality is your personality and your conviction, authenticity, guys, is a thing that's working in this world. Okay? Even if you have an audience of 300 people, it's 300 individuals that went out of their way to give you time. Those are leads in terms of generating business revenue.
We're going to need to know how to channel it legally in some, not the ones we're going to keep hidden, of course. Okay. But the one that we will declare and make sure that for generations we have this trust set up. The way richer families do it.
Absolutely.
Do you have any resources? I know it's different in the US.
Yeah.
In Canada, it is a little bit more restrictive, but I know it exists. So if you have any leads connections with that, we'd be interested.
Thank you. So that's a phenomenal question again. Everyone, round of applause for generational wealth. Okay? Generational wealth. Really. Every single one of you that's deciding to have kids, a family, should be thinking about the kingdom that you are creating. Alright, you are kings and queens of your kingdoms. Alright, what do you want the next prince and princess to be thinking like? What habits do you want to be instilled in your family? Right? What is the expectation? What is the standard that needs to be met in order for your kids to get your wealth? That's something we don't think about. Oh, we got a love unconditionally. Okay, if they're out on the street doing nothing, do they deserve all the stuff that you put your time and energy into? Probably not. So having those conversations with them, hey, what would you do if I gave you my house? What would you do if I gave you my bank account? And if they say I'm going to spend it on a stupid car, you probably know against the other thing. Right? That's just truth. And so when it comes to a trust, actually my cousin is a CPA, so I'm going to pitch him here, in Canada, very, very nice guy, and he stole my name. So his name's Turab too. Okay? Come from a really great family. I'll put his information on the back wall, and then you guys can reach out to him. Very good idea to start thinking about that stuff. Any other questions? I'm gonna get Robert and Dimitri to come up here in 5 seconds, but this, I hope you guys are realizing, is some of the most valuable information you're probably gonna get in the last 2 days. Any other questions? Anything at all? I talked about a lot of different things. Hopefully too.
Let's do a little 2-minute intermission.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Zach come up here for a sec. You guys are ready to rock?
Do a little break.
Okay. So, okay, cool. Zach, I'm gonna have you come up and present for media in general and the things that people need to know about media. Okay?